Heaven is here, so is hell. But be sure of one thing, you're the one that creates the hell.
From your perspective, what is heaven and what is hell?
Heaven is where I am right now. My mind is profoundly content for no reason, and it is totally blissed out. Hell is where I used to live when I resisted life, when I decided to contract against whatever was happening in my life, when I turned myself into a victim of anything. I took myself to hell. About 51 years ago, I decided to stop doing that. I stopped being a victim of life, and I started accepting life as it is. Probably the best thing I could ever do. Because people create hell for themselves with their resistance to what is. If we accept what is, if we learn to let go, we can find heaven here. But that's up to you, because you're in charge of your mind. If you're resisting, if you're offering contraction to the world, if you're turning yourself into a victim of anything, that is your choice. Bad things can happen. You have a choice to just see them as this is what is, or you can turn yourself into a victim of them. Up to you. Your choice. People take themselves to hell on a regular basis through their resistance to what is. Their choice.
How can we find heaven on earth?
It's already here. All you've got to do is find your own true nature. And then the I, the one that suffers, disappears, and there is nothing but bliss. It's very beautiful. The mind rests profoundly content for no reason whatsoever. Suffering ceases, along with desires and attachments. All fear disappears. Enlightenment is the way to freedom. As far as I can tell, the only way. And the path to it is acceptance and let go, which teaches the mind eventually unconditional surrender, which is the right mind to support the accident when it happens. Because you can't make enlightenment happen, it is an accident, but you can produce a mind that will support it if it is found. Many people have satoris, they have glimpses of their own true nature. But unless their mind is being programmed to support what is found, there isn't going to be any ongoing enlightenment. The satori will finish and awareness will go back to the mind and the ego. Someone who's awake has surrendered unconditionally, otherwise they would not be awake. They have given everything to truth and they've kept absolutely nothing for themselves.
Why is suffering the default human condition?
Because of ignorance. If people knew that they didn't need to create their own suffering by resisting life, they would probably stop. But it's not something that we're taught at school, and it's not something churches teach. I grew up as a Roman Catholic. I went to a Roman Catholic boarding school, and I was not told any of this. I was told resistance was good. Competing was good. What I discovered was that resistance creates suffering, and competing is against the heart. So in non-resistance, in openness, we find heart. Very beautiful. This can be found before enlightenment. It is very beautiful. Any time we move to resistance or defendedness, we cut ourselves off from it, the perception of it, because it's not somewhere else. It is already here. It's always here. Love is always present. It is not somewhere else. If it's not being perceived, there is some defense system or closure or resistance in place. Heaven is here, so is hell. But be sure of one thing, you're the one that creates the hell.
What is it like for you as an enlightened being to see the vast majority of people living in hell that they create?
What it's like for me is simple. I spend all day long, every day, trying to help people get free. That's what it's like for me. I love people, I love humans, and I do my best to help them get free all day long, every day. There's nothing else to do.
Some teachers say there are other realms or dimensions where beings do not suffer. Can you say anything on this?
Yeah, it's an ego trip. What's interested in it? The ego. The ego is trying to escape. And escaping ego doesn't work. Only a surrendering ego works. Escaping egos continue to suffer and continue to exist. A surrendered ego dies. The entry point to beingness, in a lot of ways, is the unconditional surrender of the I, which in fact is a death of the I. So if you want to find the problem, look into a mirror and see the I. There are no other problems. It is the one. It likes to think of itself as the one as well, but not the one that creates the problem, but it is the problem. In learning openness, you diminish the I. In learning openness, you start finding love. It is the way. The I is the problem.
What can we do to help others get out of hell?
Wake up. Until you wake up, you're only going to lead others astray. Someone who's awake doesn't make the mistake of leading others astray because they know the way out. Someone who's not awake does not know the way out, otherwise they would be awake. Simple. I only took advice, really, from my awakened teachers. I didn't bother with people who weren't awake. They were my peers. And they were just as lost as I was, thinking they were still an I somewhere. Which, when we really closely look at it, is a little bit deluded, considering the I doesn't really exist. It's made up of reference points from the past projected to the future. Take away your imagination and the I doesn't exist. It's not even real. It seems real though, but it's not real. Beingness is real. That that's aware of the mind is real. That is reality. Awareness of awareness is reality. Anything else, Tosh?
So is it true that you have to die in order to enter heaven?
What you are cannot be touched by anything. It was never born and it cannot die. The false thing that thinks it's you, yes, it can die. The body can die, but what you are cannot be touched by anything.
So what is it that wakes up?
That that's aware of the mind becomes aware of itself continuously. If it is partial, it is a satori. If it is continuous, non-stop, it is enlightenment. The only way that you can tell if someone's enlightened is not by what they say, not by what they do, but by the Buddha field they carry, which will be around them 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It's the only possible way. When awareness becomes aware of itself, a Buddha field is created. Around someone who's enlightened, that Buddha field is always there.